Hey, good. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Change Starts with Us, Ohio. We're here with
This call is originating
Frank
from an Ohio
P.
correctional
Woods.
facility and may be recorded and
Okay.
monitored.
Welcome, Frank.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Real good. I got you right up to the microphone.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. Jim, I know you and I, between your health and my health, we had to miss a few recordings, and I'm grateful and very glad that we're both strong and back on top, or at least for a little while. And I want to bring people up to pace on this, so any new listeners understand that, hey, this is a wrongful conviction. My name is Frank P. Wood, and I've been wrongfully imprisoned for going on a full 15 years. The case erupted out of Medina County, Ohio, state of Ohio versus Frank P. Wood. And the case number is 05CR0365. And Jim and I have been building a background based on state court and public records and affidavits that have gone uncontested by the states. And these are all published for download, including my trial transcripts from www.freefrankpwood.com. And you can also keep in touch with our publishings at Free Frank P. Wood at Facebook. Jim, we've been discussing Dr. Reed on and off
Right.
pretty much every recording. And I presented his scientific conclusions in every legal proceeding that I have filed since 2008. Okay? And nobody wants to listen, so I think we should explain why. I would like to really get into some detail here. So people know, his name is M. Douglas Reed, PhD, out of the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And the way he and I met was F. Harrison Green was the lawyer that I hired out of Cincinnati. And when I was first arrested and in county, I had insisted that Dr. Reed be contacted because I wanted him to examine my mind and my belief system because my lawyer had suggested it and explained his background. I'm like, he sounds like the guy we need. Well, it turns out he is on the Attorney General's database, Ohio Attorney General, for expert witnesses regarding these cases in particular, sex abuse. Okay? And I printed his credentials. Actually, a friend of mine did. My son sent them to me. And forgive me for putting it like this, when I wrote my book, I was very on fire. I call them Dr. Reed's kick-ass credentials. Can't help it. But those are listed as Exhibit 46 in my book. Okay? If people can copy them, they can contact him and verify this is him. Full-blown here. Let's see here. I would like to discuss something here. There are three items in particular. Oh, real quick. Dr. Reed had interviewed me while I was in county, and I later learned that the state's leading expert for Medina County, remember Dr. Suzanne Lesure of Cornerstone Psychological?
Yes.
Yeah, the brain butcher. She is not on the Attorney General's database for expert witnesses. Now, Dr. Reed, I want to make note of three small items that are very important as far as his credentials go.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
And out of those 2 pages of his credentials, number 11 reads as follows. Dr. Reed holds a diplomate on the board of Clinical Forensic Counseling of the American College of Certified Counselors, Division of Psychotherapy. He holds 7 other specialties in that group. This guy is a walking Einstein. That's all I got to say. Just meeting him was impressive. Very controlled, strong mind, very focused. And Section A of that number 11 says he is a certified sex offender treatment on the American Board of Psychological Specialties. He holds 11 psychological specialties in that group, including sexual abuse, behavioral science, counseling psychology, and substance abuse psychology. This guy is no fool. And if anyone's, he was just amazing. And number 17, this one's my favorite for various reasons. Dr. Reed is designated as an expert on the Ohio Attorney General's data bank of experts on child abuse. It's called the DECA list. Boom. He's the man. He is the one that everybody was worried about. And I want to be clear. And I would like to talk about item 5. I'm going to go back, add one more item. Item 5 on Exhibit 46 in my book. Dr. Reed is not only the state's leading expert on this matter, the only state's expert to examine my mind. I want to make that clear. The county prosecutor never brought anybody forward, hey, let's examine this guy. Nobody. I want to be clear on that. They wanted a one-sided conviction, one-sided trial to get a one-sided verdict. He is qualified to do work for the Department of Defense. This man's credentials are way too high. Now, Judge Collier determined, here it is. The reason the state would not let him testify is because his credentials were too high. What he had to say simply crushed Dr. Lesureur's testimony, and it completely decimated the state's theory of perpetrator. They have nothing. Now, let's see here. Now, also we're going to get into, over the next couple times that we talk, from my book, A Blueprint for Wrongful Imprisonment. You can download the entire thing from my website, Non-Consecutive Files. Are his reliable findings regarding my mind and beliefs. That's Exhibit 34. I extrapolated everything out of his testimony that was pertinent to the case and put them in one document. I referenced every transcript page and every line number so people can say, or cannot say, I'm hiding something or I'm lying. Now, upon the conclusion of Dr. Reed was allowed to testify voir dire. Basically, the jury was not present. When he got done, former Assistant Prosecutor Ann Eisenhower told Judge Collier, Your Honor, we can't have the jury hear this. And to this, Judge Collier replied, I agree. Before we go any further, Jim,
Yes.
those two statements are not only missing from my transcripts, I have an affidavit from Attorney Stanley published in my book. He's a witness that was said. Okay? Now, shortly after that, now, people should also understand that right after that, Judge Collier said he determined that Dr. Reed's findings and conclusions, quote, aren't relevant. That's in the transcripts. And dismissed him from the stand. Afterwards, Dr. Reed approached me at the defense table with Attorney Crane and Stanley. And he said, this is the first time I have never been permitted to testify. At that point in time, he's been doing this work for over 30-some odd years. And they would not let him testify? That's absolutely outrageous. They were gunning for this conviction. Now, let's see here. Oh, this is exactly what Judge Collier...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Judge Collier said this, it is not that you haven't done a good job doing what you're doing, or that you're not capable of doing it. In fact, I I find just the opposite to be true. That transcript page is Exhibit 48 in my book. Okay? Now, this is beyond shocking. So, and it was right after that, the very next line, he said, I find that your conclusions aren't relevant, and kicked him out of the courtroom. Not only did this violate my U.S. Sixth Amendment right to present witnesses in my favor, he denied me a complete defense. And every time I raise his reliable findings, his scientific findings, that match the medical findings in my case and the testimony, which exonerates me, nobody, no court will acknowledge it or discuss it, and the prosecutor has refused to in every reply brief over the years. They won't touch it because they can't. And that's why nobody calls in to jump on you or me regarding these broadcasts on Facebook, YouTube, or a podcast. They can't. What are they going to do? They got nothing. Now, it was very shocking as I broke down the transcripts in prison. You know, almost 600 pages, Jim, and I went through every page over and over countless times over the years. And then I caught something. And we still haven't fully discussed the felony 3 yet, but I want you to know something. There's a pattern of behavior here on behalf of the court and state. When the alleged felony 3 gross sexual imposition, the alleged victim testified twice that she could not recall being at a crime scene with me. She never testified that I did anything. They asked her, what did Frank Wood do to you? She said nothing. Even my former wife testified for me. Oh, he was good to the kids, never favored one child over another. He took good care of us. I even hit Attorney Stanley in the ribs with an elbow. Like, did you catch that? He's like, yeah, I caught it, you know? And during that time, the judge removed her from the stand. Prosecutor Eisenhower had a private meeting with a state child witness during trial outside the presence of my jury, I apologize, my lawyers or myself. That was ex parte, outside the presence of the other party.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Came back in and told the judge without the jury present, Your Honor, I'm telling you, I made a pact with her. And they put her back on the stand. Jim, we're going to pick up right there with our next phone call. How's that sound?
Okay, I'll be waiting, brother.
All right,
Okay.
Jim, call you right back.
All right. Folks, you could also check out our website at www.changestartswithohio.org. That is. Yeah, so we're just waiting for Frank to call back, and he should be calling back shortly. That's all we're waiting for. Okay. Here he calls.
Hello. This is a prepaid debit. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
Okay. I hope everybody can hear me. It gets a little loud in here from time to time. I apologize for that, but it is an environmental factor. Jim, after, right before this alleged pact was made, okay, which is a federal violation that falls upon Title 18, Section 1512 of the United States Code Annotated, also known as the United States Code Service, I can file that under Title 42 into the federal courts. I'm just waiting because the law libraries are closed. I can't get in there to a word processor. Right before this happened, Judge Collier told Prosecutor Eisenhower, we don't have anything. on the felony free. We don't have anything. And she says, don't worry, I made a pact with her. Then the girl gets back on the stand. And Prosecutor Eisenhower says, now you discussed with Dr. Leger, Frank Wood, right? The guy that was married to your mother? No, she goes, Frank Wood was the guy married to your mother? And she said, yes. Prosecutor Eisenhower told the jury during closing arguments, she came back in here and told you he did it. No, she didn't. You asked her.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Prosecutor Eisenhower asked this poor girl if I was a man married to her mother. Wait a minute. She deliberately and blatantly lied to her jury to secure a bogus conviction. And believe me, she's done it several times. We're far from done with this case. So this was the whole thing behind getting Dr. Reed, getting him in the courtroom, how I met him, and what happened. The killer part, Jim, is I would like to. What do I have here? Forgive me. I also have Exhibit 34 from my book in my hand, and I really wish people would download this. It's a simple 4-page document that I wish they would forward all over the world. I captioned it the core of the voir dire testimony of N. Douglas Reed, Ph.D., the Ohio Attorney General's leading expert concerning the mind and beliefs of Frank P. Wood. Jim, on page 1 of this document, I discuss right at the top Dr. Reed, his credentials. He's a licensed clinical psychologist, and he even testified he spent his entire 30-year career at that time working with, quote, pedophiles and sociopaths. Now, of my own volition, Dr. Reed put me through a battery of psychological tests that are readily accepted by the working psychiatric community. And he breaks these down on transcript pages 465 through 480. And I assembled the core of his findings regarding the case, put them in 4 pages regarding the case itself, the charges, the allegations. And I'd like to discuss this first one. He said there is no sexual history of sexual desire or contact with minors, even when he was a minor. His first sexual contact was when he was 18. So he has none of the typical drives that a pedophile would have or a typical abuser would have towards minor children.
Right.
I lost my virginity on my 18th birthday to a very beautiful, classy, and intelligent woman. Candles, wine, romantic. Okay? That was my first experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
Right.
You know? So basically, you got to remember, I was raised to be the...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Raised in a primarily Catholic household, and I was raised to be a good little boy, Italian boy, and save myself for marriage. And I thought this girl and I were going to get married. You know, that's where my mind was. Number 2, Dr. Reed said his sexual behavior inventory, this is one of the tests, shows that he has normal, healthy sexual thoughts. And if you consider healthy, would be masturbating to an adult person rather than a fantasy of a fantasy of an adult than that of a minor. I have no interest in that. So if I was going to have a fantasy, it would be about an adult. Hey, my guy. Number 3, his preferences are heterosexual. He has sexual attraction only to adult women. That is very key right there. This man was examining my mind, okay? Way smarter than me. Number 4, he said he's not sexually compulsive or addicted, in my professional opinion. Number 5, his sexual behavior is under his control. He is not right now because they earned it. They denied my parole 2 years ago, and they had this evidence, this very document in their hands. They're expert, and they refused to release me. I want everyone to know, and I published what happened with the parole board on my website. Okay? It's there. They claimed that they had a Dr. Morrow at another facility claim that I was sexually aggressive. First of all, who is Dr. Morrow? Because I've never been interviewed by Dr. Morrow. I'll make that point blank clear. Whoever this woman is, the American Psychiatric Association needs to yank her license. Okay? I don't know where this came from. Now, Jim, that really burnt me up because I'm like the romantic fools, you know? Yeah. God almighty. Anyhow, I made a note here. As trust means to allow without fear, you can trust a man with self-control and no vices. I have no vices, Jim. None. I'm just an ordinary, everyday American guy trying to get home to his family, you know?
Right.
This is interesting. Dr. Reed, number 6, he said, his mental exam status indicated he has no organic brain damage. Jim, I guess that's a plus in my favor.
Right.
And he said he is able to think straight. He's above average in intelligence. Now, on a special note, when he said that, those of us that were still in the courtroom, because the jury wasn't there, this is amazing. Even the stenographer stopped. The judge, the detective, the prosecutor, the lawyers, the bailiff, the 2 deputies, everybody locked eyes on me because it is obvious that I am too intelligent to commit such ignorant, heinous acts. And I put down here further, when Dr. Reed concluded this statement, everybody stopped because they looked at me with eyes wide open and full of worry. I would have to say that at that very moment, they knew they screwed up. They knew it. Get Dr. Reed out of the courtroom. So, and I'm on page 2, Jim, of that exhibit so people know, item 7. He said the conclusions from the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory was that he had no psychopathology. None of the 10 clinical scales were elevated. Jim, that means I didn't even show a propensity, even an inkling, even just an idea of doing something like this. It's not who I am. It's
Right.
not part of me. That's the whole issue here. And I've proven that there's so much I know. Sorry.
Right.
Now, this is a reliable scientific instrument of psychological analysis and discovery.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Getting a little loud in here. Hang on a minute, Jim. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a reliable scientific instrument of psychological analysis and discovery. And the reason I learned that is because I had to do my own psychological research in here and study what these tests were. What does
Right.
this man have to say about me? Because I've never been through this. I have a very inquiring mind. I study everything from physics to finance. I'm very fascinated by the world. And this might be a very critical thing here is item number 8, Jim.
Right.
He said he does not see himself as narcissistic, which is an important finding. And he does not come across, he does not test as being narcissistic. And here's why. Because I studied narcissism and FBI profiling. Okay? Narcissism is an important part of the FBI's profile for a real sex offender.
Right.
Isn't that amazing? Now, here we have the state's best saying, I'm none of the above. And we're not even done yet, you know? He said at number 9, he does use rationalization and externalization as defense mechanisms. I'm one of those people in problem solving. I am well adept at separating myself from the situation to analyze it. it is much easier for me, and I'm able to maintain much more emotional control in the process.
Right.
Like I said, I'm very analytical, and my creative side is a form of innovation. My creativity, I take a lot of ideas, put it together, and make one better one. That's how I think.
Right.
He also put down that I have high ego strength. Ego in psychology isn't like what we call ego and pride in the free world, okay, or the outside world or anywhere. High ego strength. I'm sorry. It's real loud if you can hear it. I can hear it. I have. If I get it.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
If I get to a situation that I cannot understand or comprehend, I have a high degree of confidence that I will solve the problem. I'm one of those people. I have a very straightforward philosophy about education. And my personal mantra for education is this: I don't know everything, but I can learn anything.
Wow.
Okay?
Powerful.
That's because when I was in 7th grade, I was supposed to graduate high school 1 to 2 years early. I've been tested at an IQ of 138 twice. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I had a problem with my knees, and I grew a little too fast, and the kneecap, the patella, did not catch up. And the Q angle of my knee structure is slightly off. This caused me problems in the Marine Corps. And to this day, I still experience pain. I just learned how to work around it and build the muscles around it. I refused to go to 7th grade in a wheelchair. I had all my books at home to me, and I passed 7th grade on my own with no help from my parents, my siblings, no tutors, nothing. And when I got back, he said, we went and saw the principal. He's like, you passed. You can go on to the 8th grade, but it will be difficult for you. You could struggle. We don't know yet. And I said, you know what? I made the decision. I said, you're the principal. I said, if you think I should do it again in the classroom environment to bring up my GPA, although I passed, I'll do it. I literally, until my legs caught up growing.
You have 1 minute remaining.
That's how I finished 7th grade. I could have graduated high school 1 to 2 years early.
Right.
But brother, I want to pick up here when we leave off. And where we left off, next time we get together, I give you a call over the weekend. And I want to thank everyone for listening, for being patient with me, and for sharing this data with as many people as you can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Have a good night,
You too. Bye-bye. That's Frank P. Wood. He's at Richland Correctional. Please check out our website, www.changestartswithusohio.org. If you want to email us, you could email Candace at changestartswithusohiocandace@gmail.com, or our main email at changestartswithusohio at gmail.com. And our phone number, our business phone number is 614-507-4593. And my number, my personal number is 380-799-3868. Everyone have yourself a real good night. And until next time, we're out of here.